Hello and welcome everybody to our stability and stretch class. I'm your health fitness specialist, Quinn. We are going to be going over a couple of movements here that focus on our stability through the core and through movement. So getting ready for the class today, we're just going to have a little bit of a warm up with our hamstring sweeps, and then we're going to go into our knee hugs and hit some Cossack squats, which are a fun, interesting little variation. Next up, we're going to start our stability circuit, which is going to consist of a lunge to balance, which is a new exercise I've been working on myself. And then we're going to do a squat hold into a runner's pose. Then we're going to follow up with a single leg balance and reach with bird dogs, plank up downs, shoulder taps, and finishing out with a plank. Excuse me. After all of that, we're going to get into our stretching portion where we're going to work on the front of our hips and our lower back, loosening out all that tension from our seated desk the whole day, making sure we're getting a nice hurdler stretch, going to some child's pose to warm up the lower back and stretch out the shoulders. And then we're going to do a 90-90 sweep with a forward fold, okay? So without further ado, we're going to start things off here with our hamstring sweeps. So getting 1 foot forward, we're going to bring the toe up towards the chest, bring our hands back, and sweeping all the way through, keeping that forward foot and leg extended and flexed up, and standing all the way tall as we reach back behind the hips and sweep down towards the ground. Standing nice and tall through the entire motion here. Getting nice and stretched out, warmed up, loosening up that lower back. And switching sides. Continuing to stand straight up, nice and tall. Keeping that toes pointed up, feet's not laying flat on the floor. And finish. Good. Next up, we're going to do our knee hugs. So just bringing that knee up to the chest, stretching into the glute. Getting a nice deep stretch in here. Hey Sue, thanks for hopping in. We're just getting through the warm up here. Okay, so just about halfway through, getting into our knee hugs. Pulling those knees up to the chest. And finishing off there, we're going to get down onto one knee and open up our hip to the side. So our toes are pointed 90 degrees out. And we're going to go into a little bit of a Cossack side lunge here. Just stretching out that inner thigh, getting into those hips. Nice and easy, keeping our shoulders square. So I'm not turning my shoulders, but keeping my shoulders square with the camera and getting into a nice deep side lunge here. A few more on this side. And switching sides. Really opening up those hips, driving that knee out past the second toe, keeping our shoulders and hips square with the camera, and coming back. A few more here. and rest. Very good. Next up, we're going to start our stability circuit. So the first exercise we're going to do is going to be a lunge to balance. So we're going to step forward into a lunge, and from here, we're going to extend up and balance on one knee, okay, or on one leg rather, okay? So stepping back into a lunge, and then stepping up into a balance, holding, coming back down, and stepping up into a balance. Now, really important as you lunge back, try to make that weight stay over the midpoint of the foot all the way as you stand up, trying to get that knee up to 90 degrees. It's important to go nice and slow through this so you can really control your stability and balance. And then maybe pick up speed as you get a little bit more comfortable. Go ahead and switch legs. So stepping back and standing up into that balanced pose, getting that knee up. And when I get into that balancing pose, I try and like almost grab the floor with my foot. So I'm really spreading those toes out wide, lunging back, and really trying to grab that floor with my foot, stabilize that balance there. And we'll rest there. That can be a tricky one. So if you got some good reps in, that's awesome. Great work. All right, next up, we're gonna do our squat hold. So feet are gonna be hip width apart. We're gonna tuck that belly in, tuck those hips underneath the shoulders, standing nice and tall, like we're getting chopped back. We're gonna drive those hips back, keeping the weight over the midpoint of the foot, and we're gonna hold here for about 30 seconds. Keeping our chest nice and tall, belly button sucked into the spine, keeping the weight back over the midpoint of the foot into the heels. Nice strong hold for about 10 more seconds. Hands out in front as that counterbalance, and standing back up. All right, next up, we're going into a runner's hold, okay? So just like we were doing in that lunge to balance, we're just gonna bring one knee up and we're gonna hold for a good amount of time here. But I want you to try and bring your arms into a 90-90 position. So opposite arm at a 90 degree in front of that knee. So if you got your left knee up, your right arm is coming up in front and your left leg is coming up behind, like a runner sprinting through the finish line. And switch sides. Getting that balancing point, really grabbing the floor with your foot, getting those arms back to 90 degrees. And holding. You got to rebalance by putting the foot down, readjust, and try and bring that knee back up. And relaxing down. All right, next up, we're going to do our single leg balance to reach. So if you guys have like a desk or a shelf or a chair or something that you can kind of use as a little crutch or guiding balance, that might be helpful here. We're going to start with one foot out, toes pointed up, heels coming off the ground. Taking your opposite hand, you're going to hinge down at the hips, sticking that butt back, touching the toe, and coming back up. Now, as we're using our chair or our shelf here, we want to try and touch it as little as possible, really challenging the stability in that leg there. Keeping that leg straight, chest and back nice and in a line. I'm not rounding out my back as I drop down. And coming straight back up to standing. Go ahead and switch sides. Nice, even pace, finding that balance, going nice and easy, trying to control that balance the whole time. Really trying to grab the floor with that foot. A few more seconds here. And finished. Good. Next up, we're headed down to the ground for some mat work. We're going to start with our quadruped opposites. Okay, so getting down on our hands and knees. Hands directly below the shoulder, knees directly below the hips. We're going to extend opposite hand and foot out. Getting a nice flat line from toe to fingertip. Really balancing through the front hand and back knee. Down on the ground, keeping that belly button tucked up to the spine. Holding for just a few more seconds. And switching sides, extending that leg and foot out, or hand, sorry. Leg and arm extended out, opposite sides. Belly button tucked up to the spine, getting nice even balance through the knee and the palm. And lowering back down. Very good. Next up, we're going to do our plank up downs. Okay, so starting down in a plank here, we're going to get our feet. I'm going to adjust my mat a little bit, get some more space. We're going to get our feet extended back, down on the ground. From here, we're going to bring ourselves up into our pillar pose and then lower ourselves back down. Trying to remember which side we use to bring ourselves up so we can switch sides each time. Let's go at a nice, even, controlled, slow pace. So we're not moving around too much, and we can really focus on getting ourselves up and down with good control. Let's go a few more. Last one. And done. Good. Next up, we're going to do our shoulder taps. You can do these with your knees down or feet back, up to you. Personally, me, I just had a tough shoulder day the other day, so I'm going to keep my knees down. But we're getting our hands just about outside of the chest here in relation to where we are. And we're going to alternate left and right side, tapping the shoulder, moving back and forth at a nice even pace. Getting that stability through the shoulder. We're not shifting too much side to side, but really using those shoulder muscles to help stabilize and control through the trunk and the hips. Let's go a few more seconds. And rest. Good. Next up, we have our plank. This is the last one of the circuit. So after this, it's just one more time through. Getting our forearms down onto the ground. We're going to drive those feet back. Knees come up. Hips nice and level with the shoulder. Sucking that belly button up to the spine. Getting nice and taut through the trunk of the body. Keeping those hips nice and level. Really sucking that belly button up to the spine, trying to get that core Activated, engaged all the way through the hips. Pressing the ground away through the elbows and the toes. Let's go a few more seconds, almost there. A little bit more work. Let's go, 5 more seconds. Keep it up, stay up, and done. Nice job. We're starting back at the top with our lunge to balance. So, getting our feet hip width apart, stepping back into a lunge, coming down and standing up into that balanced position. You can bring the hands out to the side to help balance out. One trick I've learned through all these stability exercises is that a lot of balance comes from your shoulders. So if you think about trying to keep your shoulders nice and level, you're not going to swing as much side to side. You'll get a little bit more balance through your movement. Go ahead and switch sides. Really trying to keep those shoulders flat, parallel to the ground as we get up into that balanced position. A few more seconds here. Almost there. And done. Good. Next up, we've got our squat hold. So feet about hip width apart, driving those hips back, extending the hands out, keeping that weight over the midpoint of the foot, sitting back into that chair. We've got an imaginary chair behind us, like we're about to sit down into it. And we're at the very last second before we hit that seat. A few more seconds. Keep it up. Nice deep breaths, holding that good squat. And standing back up. Nice job. Next up, we're going into our single leg balance to reach. So getting our toe up off the ground, pointed up, and torso nice and tall. We're hinging at the hips, sticking those hips back behind us, reaching forward towards the toe, getting into wherever our range is right there, and coming back up. The most important part is working through that straight leg, straight back range. If you can't quite get to the toe, you will get there one day. It is hard to reach all the way down while you are balancing. So if you're not quite at the toe, just work with that range you've got. Go ahead and switch sides. Finding that nice, controllable, even pace on the way down and back up. We're not going super quick down and super fast up, but nice, controlled, and even. About 2 seconds. 1, 2, 1, 2. Back up and down. A few more seconds. Almost there. And finished. Good. Next up, we have our runner's pose. So putting all of that balance to work, we're going to get into our runner's pose. Again, you can use a shelf or a chair if need be to help stabilize here. We're going to bring one knee up, getting that hand up in front to 90, back hand 90 behind us, like we're sprinting through the last 20 feet of a half marathon. Getting that balance, knee nice and up at 90 degrees. Controlling the body, keeping those shoulders level, core nice and tight, belly button sucked into spine. And switching sides. Getting that knee up. Nice and totally engaged through the shoulders and the torso. Nice proud chest, belly button sucked up to spine. Whoa. Starting to lose balance a little bit myself. Couple more seconds. And relax back down. Very good. Next up, we're getting into our mat work. Down on the floor, getting into our quadruped opposites. So hands just slightly outside of the chest, right underneath the shoulders, knees directly underneath the hips. We're extending opposite hand and leg out, balancing that opposite side stability, trying to spread that weight evenly from the knee to the hand, planted on the ground, belly button sucked up to spine. And you want your hips and shoulders square with the ground, so I'm not tilting too far to one side, but everything nice and level. Go ahead and switch sides. Getting a nice even hold, pressing the ground away through the knee and the hand. Extending, creating that connection all the way from fingertip to toe. Sucking that belly button up to the spine. Almost there, got about 10 more seconds. Nice and flat and lowering back down. Very good. Next up, we've got those plank up downs. So getting our forearms down to the ground, feet back. We're going to extend up, getting into our pillar and back down. Popping up and controlling back down. Nice, even pace. Taking some time at the top and the bottom to stabilize out. And come back down. Few more, keep it going. And done. Good. Next up, we have our shoulder taps. So getting those hands down on the ground, alternating side to side, opposite hand to shoulder, trying to keep the weight over the hands. You're not shifting side to side, but staying nice and stable. Few more, keep it up. And rest. Good. Next up, last one, we've just got our plank. So getting our forearms down to the ground, feet back, knees up, hips level with the shoulder, sucking that belly button up to spine, engaging all the way, pressing the ground away from the toes, through the elbows, and holding. Keeping those hips up off the ground, back nice and level. Taking deep breaths and exhaling out. Getting nice, balanced, and stable here. Few more seconds, keep it up. And resting down. Very good. Way to finish our stability portion. A couple of new, different, challenging exercises there. I hope you guys had some fun with them. Those lunge to balance ones are a little bit tricky with all the motion. That's why I kind of gave them first so we weren't too tired. But now we're going to head into our stretching. So first thing we're going to do is our hurdler stretch, folding one leg back. So we have our ankle and heel by the hip, and we're going to lower the body down to the ground or popping up onto the elbows, keeping your body supported if you're feeling particularly tight through that stretch in the quad and the hip flexor. Taking deep breaths in and exhaling out. Nice, even breaths. Staying nice and calm through that tension. And rolling off to the side, extending that leg back out, switching sides, bringing that other ankle back, and lowering ourselves back down. Trying to keep that knee down on the ground. Both those hips and lower back pulled down to the ground as well. Really trying to open up the front side of that leg and our hip flexor. Taking nice, big, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, really just trying to calm the body back down and release all that stress and tension. And rolling out to the side. We're going to extend both legs forward again. And getting into our child's pose here, we're going to sit back onto our heels, extend the hands out, and stretch in through the shoulder and the lower back. Taking nice, calm breaths, really pressing the hands down into the ground and trying to sit those hips back towards the heels. And coming back up, relaxing out of that. Last one we're going to do is our forward fold. So getting both of our feet extended out, we're going to bring our hands down the shin, tuck our fingers underneath the calves or the ankle, or if you can get all the way to the feet, trying to grab the toes or the bottom of the foot, but just trying to find two anchors to try and pull that chest down towards the knees, keeping those knees pulled down to the ground, really straightening out those legs and stretching deep into the lower back and the hamstrings, possibly even the calves a little bit as well too. Taking nice deep breaths, really trying to lower that body down into the knees. And relaxing out. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. One of my favorite classes is the stability and stretch. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to hop in. If you have any questions about the exercises we did or anything that we didn't do that you'd like to see more of, or anything you absolutely hated and never want to see again, please let me know. I'll make sure to tailor it best fit for you guys, because that's what it's all about, making sure that we're all healthy and having fun through exercise. So thank you guys so much for hopping in today. I hope you enjoyed it.